everyone. I'm Lauren Van Hemert, and we are taking a field trip tonight with Rebecca Jackson-Artis, my friend. We're going to Chicago, and we are doing our own version of Torn Chicago. It's not exactly what was going to be Torn Chicago, but it's even better because Rebecca put together this fabulous panel. If you have any questions, of course, put them in the comments on our Facebook page, RDU on Stage, and I'll make sure Rebecca gets those. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to log off and let you guys chat.
Well, hello, everybody. Again, my name is Rebecca Jackson-Artis. Welcome to tonight's forum. I'm really excited about this. As you guys can see, I can't contain my excitement. I have an amazing group of people here who I know and I've had nice conversations with, multiple, and I would like to introduce them to you. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, give you their amazing resumes, and then from there, we'll start having a really deep conversation about Chicago theater and really what is needed to start the process to not just talk about the issues, but actually implement real change and in the process, how we as Black actors who are in Chicago I don't live in Chicago anymore, but I am frequently in Chicago, who we can also talk about how we can help heal each other. So I would like to start off with the most amazing Carla Stillwell. Carla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely not. Hello, my name is Carla Stillwell. I am a native Chicagoan, South Side, yay, yay. I am I am a playwright, a director. I was an actor for many years. I quit that because that sucks. But I have never left theater, and I was the artistic director for Impact Theater here I was with the company for 22 seasons. I was artistic director for 10 years. I stepped down because I did not have the freedom to lambast white supremacy in the way I wanted to. So I started my own organization. It's the Stillwell Institute for Contemporary Black Art. And the long and the short of it is I go get money to give Black artists across genres to do Black shit. So that's who I am.
Don't you see, you guys, how freaking awesome tonight it's going to be so far? Okay, next up, we have the amazing Ruben Eccles. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ruben D. Eccles. I am an associate director at the Black Ensemble Theater. I've been with the company for 21 years. I am also, I work for the Goodman Theater as a costume apprentice, and I'm a costume designer, writer, director, choreographer, and I'm still an actor. It is hard, but I'm still here. And I've worked with everybody in Chicago, and that's me. That's what I do.
COVID ruined me and Ruben's next project together.
I know. I was so excited.
My show.
And awesome. Since Carla left with like a mantra, I'm gonna say it's important to me to work with people, youth of color, to give them opportunities in theater that they may not have access to expose them to the other, not just on stage, but to be behind the table. So a lot of my work is surrounded by that.
Yes, you guys, we have to pass the torch. I mean, we can't hoard the resources. That's the whole point, and that's part of our discussion tonight. Next up, we have Andrea Black. Andrea, would you like to introduce? We can't hear you. Uh-oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Andrea Black. I lived in Chicago for 10 years and studied at IO, worked with Walkabout Theater, the House Theater Company, and worked with some independent shows in comedy. And I have a 9-year-old daughter, so I took a hiatus, which kind of was like a semi-retirement. and I haven't been I haven't been acting or doing anything as of yet. But I've jumped back on the boat with RDU on stage to do their critiquing and theater critiquing, and I'm here listening to all of you. So I appreciate you having me.
Next up, hello. Can you guys hear? You guys can hear me, right? Like, why is it saying it's muted? Okay. Next up, I have to introduce the most annoying person on the panel, who just happens to know me very well, Dre Robinson. I only asked him to be on the panel because I felt bad for him. So, ladies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Dre Robinson.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. My name is Dre Robinson. I'm a writer, director, producer. I've studied theater all my life. I have been associated with such prestige companies as the Black Ensemble, Congo Square, Goodman Theater, Second City, you name it, I've done it. For the past 6 years, I kind of stopped doing theater and I now do film, television stuff. And I may have a project with the person who introduced me, but I will not say their name.
Okay, so there's a lot of hateration going on, but that's okay. We can move on. Last but definitely not least, we have Miss Colette Gregory. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Colette Gregory. I'm the executive director of Playmakers Laboratory Theater Company, formerly Barrel of Monkeys, but we not monkeys no more. I also am adjunct faculty at the theater school at DePaul. I have worked at Steppenwolf Theater Company, Chicago Shakespeare Theater Company, the Court Theater at University of Chicago. As an arts administrator and as a performer, I have performed with Second City, where I'm also on faculty as well.
And I will introduce myself. My name again is Rebecca Jackson-Artis. I have done everything. I started off doing my work in Chicago, born on the South Side, 75th and South Shore, raised in, but I was raised in Evanston, Skokie. And I started off as a very young child working at Pippin Theater Workshop, worked my way up, did theater in high school and majored in at college at Hampton University. Then came back to Chicago, started working at former Barrel of Monkeys, which is now known as Playmakers Theater, went on to working at Impact, worked in a show. I did a show. Also, I worked at Second City. I did Brown Co. I understudied on the main stage, blah, blah, blah. Went through the conservatory. I did also other independent shows and did film and theater. Now I'm primarily doing film and television with a little bit of voiceovers and a podcast coming soon called Black Becky Speaks. Since Dre was too ashamed to talk about our web series, it's called Totally Becky, and I'm also currently in a comedy duo, sketch comedy duo with Rebecca Fox called The Rebecca Show that is mainly running here in the Raleigh-Durham area. But anyway, now we're focused on all Chicago. And today, and this is why I have the most amazing people be on this panel, because I'm really excited, because what's been happening in Chicago theater in the last, I would say 6 months because of COVID is a beautiful thing. I think it's beautiful. A lot of nasty, nasty shit is coming out and it's surfacing, and Black people are calling it out. And I love it. And we're bringing things to light. We're talking about sexism. We're talking about racism. We're talking about marginalization. We're talking about how, Chicago theater has made Black people a monolith. And now we're eliminating those confines, like that, how you say that, imprisonment. And like we're breaking down the jail walls, and we are putting them white folks in jail, and we calling them out. And I'm really happy about this. I am. And as many people know, if you follow me on social media, I have no problem telling white people to their face how frustrating it is to have to work with them and them not really acknowledge their privilege and how they're oppressive. Okay, so tonight we're going to have very uncomfortable conversations. Just let you all, you white people who are watching, know this is going to be very uncomfortable for you. If you don't want to hear uncomfortable conversations, get off, because we don't really need that right now. Right now, we're focusing on healing. We're focusing on resolutions. We're focusing on real change that will be implemented. Correct, people? Okay. We're not talking little policies that make everybody comfortable. We're talking about real change that can be done in Chicago theater. So the first question I would like to ask, and you guys, I really want this just to be like an organic conversation. Please do not feel like you have to raise your hand, but definitely be polite with everybody, of course, because you guys are amazing. The first question I have is, what have you seen in the last 20 years in Chicago theater that has concerned you about Black people's opportunities? Go.
The lack thereof.
Yes. Ruben, but can you expound on that? Because you know how white people are. They're like, what? Huh? What are you talking about?
Well, it's just that here we are in 2020, and we see a lot of shows, and we see at the major companies, and we see one African American or one person of color in the cast, and that cast is now diverse. Or we see a show about Black people and Black stories, but there are no Black people behind the table. There's not even a Black dramaturg. Nobody even called Ray Ray and them. Nobody called nobody. It's just a bunch of white people, no disrespect, telling our stories, and that's what concerns me. And it's, even though we are diverse and we're progressive and we're doing different things, we keep seeing this over and over and over again at all of the major companies, or at these companies, they produce one Black show a season. That is it. We have fulfilled our quota of being diverse. And that Black show that has been produced per season doesn't get the funding that the other musicals get. So those things are, and I'll give a big, huge example. And I love this company very much, and I've worked there, and they've always treated me well, but I wasn't happy with this particular thing, which is Drury Lane just did Color Purple. And the Color Purple opening was cool. It was nice and beautiful. The set was nice and beautiful. But when we got to Mary Poppins, which was the very next show after Color Purple, they had trees in the lobby and kites hanging from they went all out and spent all this money. But the Color Purple, most of the people had one costume per. It was things like that that just made me sad. You saw a very big difference in the quality of the show. And I'm sure that they feel like, oh, well, Black people aren't coming out here or whatever it is, but we deserve for our stories to be told and funded the same way that a Mary Poppins would be told and funded. So those are things and it's happening across the board at all of the different companies. And so those things concern me, because here we are in 2020, and we've done all these things, and we've made all these strides, and we're diverse, and we're claiming to be diverse, and we're claiming Black Lives Matter, and we're claiming that we're here for you, but it's one African American or an African American and a Latinx person in the cast, and that's it. And so that's what makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, you feel like it's like check marks. It's like, okay, we checked that off. Like, okay, so now we're good, right? And they can cross their legs and put their hands behind their head, right?
Yes.
But we all know that just that alone, and I've heard that from you, are like seriously, I've heard that from so many people, and I've seen it myself, even at Second City, like the disparity in the funding of Black shows versus everybody else's show. And it's, yeah. Anybody else? What have you seen in the last 20 years?
See, I want to dig into this money piece because I'm sick of white people and their shit. So, and I'm sick of the shit with the money. And we have to get past the stage and get into the front office. So there's a level of theft and lies and deceit that go into the way in which these white organizations, these predominantly white institutions, reach out and get money from foundations. They tell the lie that Ruben is talking about, because I'm gonna call it spade, because Trump is in office now and we can no longer play these semantic games with white folks. So you sit in the office and you tell the lie that we're Steppenwolf going to do this great diverse thing, and we have this Black thing, and we're doing all of the youth theater for young audiences and all these types of shits. And so we tell this to the funder, and because foundations are racist, some of them are doing better. I'll talk about that later. But because of the racism in funding, it is the bigger company gets the money. So these white people get in front of these small Black and brown BIPOC theaters because they have the bigger budget, which makes them perceived as being better business people. So they get this project money for these diversity programs, and then they funnel it to other shit. So 8 Black actors may get a job, but there's no Black stage manager. They take the money for arts and education and do not send any Black artists into the Black and brown schools that they pimp to get the money for. So then you have organizations like Goodman, where the AD and the ED are making $500,000, but you're taking diversity money. You're writing grants for diversity money. And then you're using that money however the fuck you're using it. But in all of their statements in the last 6 months, so 3 months, oh, we have failed in diversity, because you were lying, because you weren't concerned about diversity, because you were concerned about money. So what I think the biggest problem is that white people won't get out of the way. They won't get out of the way. If the tide has to turn, everything spins on the dollar. This is America. We are a capitalist nation. So things spend on the dollar. And if you want to turn the tide and you want to show your allegiance, get out the money pot. Get your multi-million-dollar budget hand out this foundation money and stop blocking it. And there's another conversation to have with foundations. But theaters, if you want to do the right thing, stop taking the money. Cut the salaries of your front office. Put some Black and brown people in your front office.
And I think that's the thing what Carla is saying. So the question of like what has bothered me in the 20 years of watching theater in Chicago is exactly what she said, is pimping. It's pimping people of color, because it's really about, from what I've seen, it's about easing the consciousness of white people to make them feel like that they are part of the conversation diversity. But that's very far from the case, because if it was leading from the heart and knowing that was the right thing to do, you would have been doing this in the first place. You would have been shifting the money where it's supposed to be shifting. You would have been giving the talent to the people who should be highlighted. And instead it's, now I'm going to put you here and you're going to be, prostitute number 1. I'm going to put you here and you're going to play the pimp. I'm going to put you here. And then you're going to play Katrina victim number 2. So it's definitely feels like, and I'm not going to say it is, because again, semantics, as Carla points out, people want to come for you. But what it feels like is that it is a chessboard and people are playing strategically with people of color in the conversation, whether in theater or in business, and how those two integrate. So I definitely agree 100%.
And all of this, what I'm hearing from you guys is all of this is to get, at the end of the day, to get dollars in their pockets. Like, it's not really to provide an equitable stage. It's really
and to retain their dying audience.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that Drury Lane, because Ruben brought it up, because I don't know them, but the fact that they feel like they have to give this extra push to the white shows to make them colorful and beautiful. And the Black people don't come out here. The Black people don't come out there because you don't invite them. Negroes have cars. It's not a welcoming environment.
Right. Black people will drive somewhere to support us. Yes.
We'll pack a lunch. Do you understand? It will be chicken in a shoebox.
Yes.
If Black people are made to feel like that is a place that is going to cater to them and that they belong.
And with that is telling Black stories, because of the fact of it's because of what Carla's speaking to is like who's on the board and who are the patrons and who the audience member, because that's another thing that really bothered me, and I'm sure that's just professionally across the board, is who are you performing for? And what you're always going to see is white faces, and those white faces are either going to be in the 20-30 range because they're getting their money and they're starting to get culture, or they're in the older range of 50 and older. And that audience and that niche, they want to see certain things. And I think, and that's the other thing I want to make it very clear, is I love our historic plays. I love The Color Purple, and I love Fences. I love these classic plays that are part of our canon. But at the same time, it's this board that dictates what we are able to perform. And so that's what I also find problematic when having these conversations about theater in relationship to Black actors.
So, I'm not driving to Drury Lane to see The Color Purple because I done seen it in all its iterations.
Times. Right.
Yes. I done seen Jitney.
Right. And
I'm fairly certain that's where I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die at intermission of a performance of Jitney. I promise you. That's where they're gonna find my cold dead body. Okay. I'm not driving for that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself because y'all know I'll talk. No, Carla, don't talk.
No, I wanted to piggyback on that because that is another thing that bothers me in the last 20 years is that we keep recycling the same Black stories as if to say that those are our only experiences. We are slaves, we are gangbangers and thugs, and we only have August Wilson when there's a plethora of playwrights. I mean, some even on this screen who are just with fantastic stories that need to be told. So that's the other thing. So I absolutely agree, and I agree. Right. Yeah. And let me just say that Drury Lane, they never said we're not putting this money.
No, it's not about
the thing, and that's the thing.
But you saw it with your own 2 eyes.
With my
right. See, that's the thing. We Black people, and this is what oh my gosh, Black people, I think this is such a beautiful time because we have been stuck in the house. We have been away from white people, and we've realized our blood pressure has dropped. We are feeling good, right? Right? And so we're like, wait, I'm not stressed every day. Maybe it's because I'm not around white people. You know, like, and so like we're having this discovery. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm not around toxic white people all the time. This is interesting. And so now we're doing a lot of like self-awareness and actualization. And then we're taking vitamins, and we're drinking water, and then we just taking care of ourselves, right? And then what's happening is that we're realizing that we don't have to censor ourselves around white people, right? We don't have to apologize for like observing these things anymore. Mm-hmm. We're like, okay, I see that. So we're like, no, and we can even say to the white people, like, I understand that you didn't consciously, like, whether you did it because you love Mary Poppins more, right, or not, but you did it, right? And it's like, so now that we know this, now that we're sitting with this, now we're like drowning in this, right? How can we solve this, right? Mm-hmm. So that leads me, unless anybody else has any other response to the 20 years, what they've been seeing with opportunities, that leads me to my next question, which is, in what ways can Black people create their own opportunities? And see, I'm all about like, okay, yes, I acknowledge implicit bias. I acknowledge all that stuff. Like, it's like, okay, yeah. And I acknowledge how like, we do have to coexist with white people, right? And we also know, you know, like we understand where the resources are. We understand that we have like, we have to work with them sometimes, right? But at the same time, instead of like, I always tell people, like, instead of blaming, or I don't know how to say this, instead of saying like, oh, well, I can't work, or this is not working, how can we build that for ourselves, right? And so that's my next question is, in what ways can Black people create their own opportunities in Chicago theater? And how can white people get out of our damn way while we're doing it? Because we also know, the reason why I have that piggyback question is we also know when Black people start creating their own and it starts smelling good and looking good and tasting good, we also know there's this like white hand that comes in and we're like, why is this white hand in here? I don't understand. Like, why are these white eyes in here? You know? So go.
I'm gonna kind of answer your question. And I think that part of it is a problem with theater in general. And COVID, I think you started this with COVID, but it has really put eyes on a lot of problems that are wreaking havoc in theater and just entertainment, period, specifically to Black and brown people, because there's not enough of us in rooms that can green light any damn project. And as Black people as a whole, we don't have enough money to do the shit that needs to be done. So I feel like as theater people, we have to find other ways. It can't be based off of butts in the seats. As a producer in theater, that's basically what you're basing everything on is I need 100 people every night to just fucking break even. And you know you're not gonna break even because it's hard to get 100 people in any fucking venue. This is before COVID.
Right.
So we as Black people, and I don't know if there needs to be some kind of alliance that all the Black theaters in Chicago or all the Black people, all the Black artists in Chicago need to come together and find other ways to pay for our art. It can't just be about, I need these 100 people in. So we have to find other revenue streams in order to fund our art and fund our voices. So I don't have answers for that, but I know that the problem, you got to start there.
I think that what, COVID, it did expose a lot of things. And to Dre's point, what it exposes that theater doesn't make money for anybody. Theater doesn't make money. It was never a sustainable model, period. So that's why it exploded. Now, I heard a rumor, and there's Second City folks on here, so maybe it's true or maybe it's not, I don't know. But I heard in the streets that this is an organization that's Second City is broke and looking for somebody to buy it. How the fuck is that possible? Now, I mean, let's examine this, and this goes back to the funding issue I was talking about. So because no theater makes money, you'll never have enough people in the seats to pay for the staff. It never happens. That's when the money laundering comes in. That's when that's when theaters start writing grants to get money for this, to supplement that. And that's what happens. It does not change for Black people until two things happen. One, we start thinking about art the way that the DNC has started thinking about campaign financing. We have to put in $20. We have to put $5 on it. We have to go to the Black organizations and say, I will give you $25 every month to sustain yourself. We as a community have to do that. And then to your second point, white people need to get their fucking hand out the funding cookie jar and quit playing games with the money, because you have $1 million board. You got motherfuckers that was on a show that was on TV for 20 years, and you had to scale your staff down to 8 people. Why are you asking foundations for anything? And why are the foundations giving you anything?
Because it shows that in itself, in conclusion, you've had decades of poor management. And, also, I'm going to just say it, it's the chickens coming home to roost. the way Second City treated Black people for decades, right? And I was one of them. And so it's now, it now just shows that it was a farce. That's all. Colette, you have,
I did want to add something. This kind of goes in line with Carla saying we need to support our own. So I'm on a sketch team. We partnered with another sketch team for Juneteenth and put on 24 hours of content. And in doing that, we raised $7,000 for Black Lives Matter charity. So the money is there. The community wants the support. They want the content. They have the money. You know, it came in $5 and $10 increments, but it came in. We just need to look at the different ways of funding the model. You know, look at its crowdsourcing a model like that, and then also disrupt the traditional platforms of, you know, doing it in a theater and trying to get the hundreds booties and chairs, you know. So you have to adapt and be digital as well, or do some type of digital preview and have people get funds through that. You just have to disrupt those models where it was traditionally the gatekeepers in the way of those funds.
Yes. And by the way, your song was amazing. I loved it. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Oh no.
Everybody has to see it. It's the cutest. It's hilarious. Anyway, so but at the same, and I agree with all of you. And it's also, I love everybody here, right? We are now moving into another stage of our age, all of us, right? And there is a younger generation that's coming behind us, right? I'm still young. I just think I'm just an older, younger person. That's what I am. So, and I think what's really important is that on what Colette was saying is we also have to, like, in creating these different ways, these like virtual theater, blah, 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 we also need to create a platform for these new playwrights, these younger playwrights, these younger actors, these younger directors, these younger tech people, these younger theater administrators, that we're like, look, here, this is how we do it. This is how it's done. This is how you get around, you know, like pull in those younger Black people and really mentor them, because that's the only way we can last and live and sustain. And I think that's part of the reason why Second City was so bad. They never passed the torch. They hoarded resources, they hoarded knowledge, they hoarded all everything and information. And then they would pick these one or two people that they would like, that were like, they were evil like them. That were like them. And, you know, and that's what happened, is that now there's no one there with sound mind that can say, okay, we got this, we're gonna pick up and we're just gonna keep going, right? So I think that's another thing that we need to do in Black theater in Chicago, is find those people, those younger people who are like, yes, you guys are amazing leaders, you guys are amazing people with amazing talent and places, and this is what I'm gonna share with you. This is what I learned, and this is what I'm gonna share with you. And we're just gonna love on each other and follow each other for years, because I'm gonna make sure you're successful and your whole little network too.
And the arts leaders have to pass the torch.
The arts leaders have to pass the torch.
They have to pass the torch.
I think also a lot of arts leaders for so many years have been pitted against each other in terms of Black. They've been like, we are the Black company trying to get the funding from the one diversity, blah, blah, blah. And we have actors we are the equity actors who are trying to get the one Black slot in the show. And I feel like, as Dre was saying, there needs to be an alliance. We need to pool our resources. We need to talk to each other, and we need to build these relationships and understand that is how we will survive, is if we work together. Like that's the only way. We have to.
but you know what? When you talk about the future, if you want this you're so funny. If you want this conversation to be about the future, we have to say this. Because, you know, I am a woman of a certain age. I tell my age because look at this skin. I'm 47. Come on.
Listen.
Come on, listen.
Y'all, she's 27.
No, she's 47. She don't lie about her age. I earned every one of these gray hairs. And most of them came from white folks. So what I think we have to acknowledge in this moment is that the young Gen X's and these Gen Z's actually want the opportunity. And I find some of these little people problematic, but they have not been conditioned in the crabs in a barrel kind of way us Gen Xers and our elders have been conditioned. Mm-hmm. It's actually a perfect storm. Things are actually, it's good. This is a good thing. What happened is a good thing because I think so many of these young folks are prepared to listen. They want their own. Mm-hmm. They get it. If you want to talk about what's going on in Chicago, you can tell the young people get it because they're not tearing up their neighborhoods. When they want to tear some shit up, they go to Michigan Avenue. They tear that up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So there's a paradigm shift happening in the younger generations. And I think it is incumbent upon us to reach back. I think that is very important. That this is the time, to Dre and Ruben's point, that we reach back and we create the coalition and we get comfortable telling our elders to shit or get off the pot.
Right. You know, yeah. And you know, and look, I'll say this in a very African-centered way. The young people are supposed to do the uprising, right? Mm-hmm. It's now then our generation that just provides the resources to those young people, right?
Absolutely.
They're the ones that are like, okay, we got a little money in our here's some food, here's a microphone, okay, here's a platform, do it, you know, whatever.
And we have to protect them.
Right.
We have to protect them from the boomers. Right. We really have to protect them from being corrupted.
Exactly. And so, and this is what I've been taught in studying African-centered lifestyle, is that we're of that generation, and now we provide the reason, and we also provide the knowledge. We're like, okay, actually, do your research here. Let reference this, and this is this, you know. And then our older generation, right? That's the generation where they sit back and they go, okay, we're going to provide the funding, right? We're going to tell you, we're going to tell you guys how we're going to nurture you guys while you're providing the resources, right? We're going to make sure you're doing it right. We're going to give you permission to do it, correct? Now it's the brothers and sisters in the twilight years, right? We're talking our 70s and 80-year-olds, right? Those are the ones that are just going to sit and watch and listen. And those sitting and watching and listening because on a spiritual level, and let's just bring it in because, you know, Black people, we spiritual, don't hate. But like on a spiritual level, they sit and watch and listen so that when they transition, they know that on an ancestral level what we need, and so they can provide some amazing things to bring down to us. You understand? And that's what I've been taught, right? And so I feel like now things are like, I think we're starting to get it, and we're starting to do it like on that level. But I think for a little bit there, it was a whole generation that was doing all of that, and that's tiring. That's wrong. It also makes things too exclusive and not inclusive, right?
But we have to talk about Chicago theater history because there's a reason those elders were the way they were. Because all of them got that, you know, their COVID was the 68 riots, right? Mm-hmm. So a bunch of Black theaters and Black arts institutions were funded when they were throwing money at Black communities trying to keep people from tearing up Chicago. So these people, these artists, these Black artists got this money in this vacuum with no other support, no guidance, and still being devalued and still having to create the work. So they're super there's a level of Black elder in this city that's super protective of the Black theater and Black politics around theater. Because they had to do some little something strange to get that money. Like they were put through it. So they feel protective of it. And I think that's part of the barrier. We got to get, because some of the 70 and 80-year-olds you're talking about, Rebecca, aren't at the listening stage yet.
No, they're not.
Because they don't feel comfortable walking away.
Exactly. And
so we're still looking at jitney.
Right.
75 times a year.
Right, exactly. And then when you do sit down and talk to them, like you're like, look, I want to open myself to you. I want to like have I want to have this dialogue with you. I've talked to a few of them, and they're very defensive. They're very like, it's a lot of possessive words, mine, our, this, and I was like, okay, but okay. So where do we fit in? Where do we fit in? And you don't. And but
you
but
don't
again,
because you can't.
Exactly.
You can't because what Ruben was speaking about, they have gotten this. They got these opportunities in the vacuum, and they were disconnected from each other to keep their money.
So this is where we need to create a bridge for them. Like, exactly. I think like we need to go to them and say, thank you. You are amazing. You did something that made sure I was here, and I appreciate it. And whatever that is, whatever that gratitude is, if it means we have to say thank you for the next 5 or 10 years, then let's do that. You know, let's give them their flowers now. And then so that when and maybe that'll help them kind of go, oh, okay, so they do see me. They do see what I did, you know? And now you're like, while you're apologizing, go, and another thing, guess what we're doing now? Like that, guess where we want you to be a part of, you know? Like, I don't know, but whatever that is, I think that might need to be, maybe have that type of meeting and that gatherness, or that gathering.
Everybody needs healing. Like though they are suffering from those traumatic experiences of like Carla was saying, getting money in this time and those things. So I feel like while we're all healing, we need to work together. It's the theme of the night. We need to work together to heal so that we can survive.
And stop talking about each other in such a bad way. We are all Black folks. Shoot, at the end of the day, we are all Black folks. And yes, we have gotten beaten, raped, professionally raped, you know, like we have been stolen from, pillaged. So I think at this point, you guys, there really is no reason to go on social media. And I made a post, I don't know if anybody saw it. I made a post last month, snapping off, that there's no reason why Black folks should go on social media and blast other Black folks in a way that until you have talked to them yourself, right? Talk to them yourself. And I noticed that that's what these young people are doing now. I'm just gonna say it.
Well, we have to learn how to handle each other with grace.
Exactly.
We talked about this. The Stillwell Institute hosted a talk earlier in the week on Monday, and it's on our Facebook page if you want to go see it. But it's about this topic. It's about we cannot, using some of these white theaters, these predominantly white institutions as an example. So when the letters started coming out, you were dealing with a bunch of theaters who had a track record of despicable, disgusting, racist, sexist behavior. It had been documented in front offices. It had been documented with human resource. It had been talked about, written about. It was not new. And people said enough and wrote a letter. That's a different relationship than the relationship you as a BIPOC artist have with a Black or brown arts administrator that's embedded in a predominantly white institution, because you're treating them like they have power. And I know why Black people do it, because we're looking for a champion, right? We're looking for a hero. So when we see the Black person sitting in the White House, we go, that motherfucker is gonna do everything for me. I mean, he's my hero. He's gonna fix the toilet. He's gonna clean the sinks. He's gonna do all the shit for me. And when you realize he's not the president of Negroes, he's the president of America, your feelings get hurt because he can't cape for you like you want him to. And we put that pressure on our Black and brown arts administrators every fucking day. That's part of what had this thing about the letter writing. That's not grace, because you're traumatized. You're also dealing with someone else who is traumatized. I've worked in predominantly white institutions. So you can't come at your Black and brown and indigenous brothers and sisters the same way you come at a 40-year institution that has a track record of misogyny. You have to handle your people with grace.
Yes.
No Black person is sitting around twirling their mustache like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get that nigga. Oh, I'm gonna get him." They're not. So we have to stop assuming that about each other. This letter campaign works to a certain extent. When 300 Broadway actors write the letter, it's because they've been being shitted on for 45 years by the same people that they've talked to and didn't listen. But you're assuming that the Black people in that organization get the same information as the white people in the organization. You're assuming that because you told Becky she was racist, that LaDisha heard you say that shit. She don't know. When you gonna talk to her? When are you gonna afford the same grace to Black people, the opportunity to learn, to listen, and to correct course that you've been affording these white folks for 401 years?
Carla, Lord have mercy, if you done said a whole encyclopedia series, I don't know what you have said.
You preaching.
I love me some Carla. I knew Carla was gonna be. She was gonna.
I just talk too much. I'm gonna
No, Carla.
You know, listen. You know, I will get on here. I will get the whole Bible.
Carla, it's okay. It's okay. No, Carla.
I will go get my grandmama's Bible that got white Jesus on it. Don't make it. It's this big. I get it.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. I think we've kind of addressed, which is, where are the inequities in funding of Black theater projects, and where can we get the funding? So we kind of addressed that, right? Should we move on, or is there anybody else has any other like funding opportunities? Which, let's just say at the end of the day, and I'm one of those Black people that think Black people can't even start talking about dismantling or creating our own and being self-sustainable until we talk about the Black dollar, until we talk about Black economics, right? Like, we can't talk about this like, oh, well, if they just stop with these policies, and policies are even rooted in a capitalist society. Policies are rooted in money, okay? So let's just say that, right? Full disclosure, for the last year or so, I've been working in politics. So like, I can tell you, like, if you ain't got the money, nothing's gonna work for you. The government ain't gonna work for you. If you don't have the capital, it ain't gonna happen. So let's move on to the next question. How can we heal, we Black people, how can we heal from the decades of Chicago racist theater trauma?
With grace. With grace and understanding. Period.
This is go ahead.
I'm sorry, no. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, things like this is the beginning, right? To me, conversations like this and not stopping the conversation here, but like taking the conversation into each of the communities that we all are attached to. Listening is the big thing, because I feel like, especially now, everybody's yelling. Everybody is upset, and we're all yelling, and we want to be heard and we want to be seen, but we got to stop and listen and hear the point. I think that, Carla, you eloquently put it, we need to extend grace to one another. I think that is a huge part of it, is that we all just want our point to be heard, but we're not listening to why this person feels the way they do, and things of that nature. But this is the beginning. To me, this is the ointment, this is the band-aid, this is the part of the healing process where you get people together and you have these uncomfortable conversations, and then we each learn something on this medium, and then we carry it on and we continue to talk, and don't be so hard on each other, because we're gonna misstep. Like for 40, 50 years, we've been operating in this same routine, and now we're trying to change. We're gonna fall back into habit, but we can't like be so hard on ourselves. We got to say, I missed that one, my bad, I'm sorry. Hey, person that's with me, thank you for supporting me, thank you for listening, and thank you for your grace. So I think that thank you, Rebecca, for this, because
Yes, thank you.
this is good for me, and we've only been on a few minutes, and I feel better already. So
Oh, that's awesome.
Now
Anybody else?
I might get in trouble. I might get in trouble for what I'm going to say. And I'm sorry if I misstep, because we are talking about economy and we are talking about politics, and it's really hard for me. It's like, how do you integrate that with Black healing? And I say that because there's like a couple of things. One, thank you so much for bringing up Afrocentric family and tradition and structure, because I think that that's a big thing. Is like, what is the power of story within the Black community, or what's the power of story within the construct of African culture? And that is like a huge, huge thing. And it's not about being famous. It's not about making money. It's about having that healing medicine, because the story is medicine. And so I think that that's one of the things that's an opportunity, is when we're breaching out that network, because Rebecca and Carla, you touched on networks, and we also touched on the spectrum of Blackness, is that no Blackness looks the same, that there is an intermix of Blackness and different Black experiences and Black voices. So how do we as artists, as playwrights and producers, take that energy and really focus on getting all those stories in a net and bringing those all in to create our own community? But then also, and then how do we get Black audience members to know the power of story, and that this is our legacy, this is our heritage, this is a part of who we are? So I think that that is, for me, where my sticking point is because I know that politics, and I know the politics, I know that money and capitalism is so intertwined within so many problems within the theater experience for Black people. So it's just like, so how do we like, I don't know how to unwind from that, because to be American be American is part of being colonialist, and being colonialist is part of being a capitalist. So I don't know how you get from underneath that and still do that healing work.
And this is why I wanted to talk about this question, because as Black artists, first of all, we all know artists, period.
Mm-hmm.
We are like sponges, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
We take on political stuff, we take on spiritual stuff, we take on economic stuff, and we pour it into our art, and we display it in the form of story, whatever, if it's drama, comedy, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we create this art through dance and music and, through theater. But in the process, sometimes when we purge our art, it's supposed to be a healing thing for us, right? We're supposed to be self-discovering, because I know there are times as I'm writing, I'm crying sometimes, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was printing this up, right? So that's why I want to talk about this. It's like, how, as Black artists, what do we need to do to heal? And sometimes we might need to form these types of groups, of what Ruben was saying, because I remember when I first became a professional actor in Chicago, we would get together on a regular basis. Remember that, y'all? We were always getting together. We were always, it was always a reason to come together, and we were we were loving on each other. And I feel like, I don't know, yeah, we're older now, and I'm not there, in Chicago. But I feel like, but I feel like we've kind of lost some of that because of like these things and social media, and like we've lost that coming together and just having a safe space for us to just say, okay, y'all, this will happen, right? And knowing that like we're there to protect each other, and that like we do that in spaces where like one of us goes, what? Oh, hell no. Okay, let me make sure you gon', that will never happen to you. So like, what does that look like? Colette?
Yeah, I mean, you provided that space for me, Rebecca. We had a conversation about some stuff that had happened to you, and then it really inspired me to speak up about stuff that had happened to me when I was working at Steppenwolf, and then I went public about that. And just having another Black woman, seeing another Black woman speak her truth, and then providing a safe space and for you to process that, just being a part of that freed me up to be able to speak my truth. And I think that it's so important that we provide that kind of space for each other. One of the things that I do with a group of Blackstresses that I'm friends with, we have a weekly call that we do. We do a Google chat, and we just let it all out. And sometimes, it's productive, and sometimes it is more than productive, because it's not only us, sharing bits with each other, but also processing things. And so I think we have to be intentional in creating those spaces and recognizing those spaces when they are created.
Yeah.
I think we also have to not be afraid of the truth. We have to, someone has to put some foots in some asses and let some people know what's really going on and how things work. That, theater is a business, and, its goal is to make money. I mean, it is to entertain, but it's to make money. And Black people need to know their worth and know what their art is worth. And too many times we get caught up in two things: trying to please white folks, and that's a huge thing. Like, oh, well, what is the Goodman doing, or what, or can we get accepted in Steppenwolf, or things like that. And like, that's bullshit. Like, now,
or can we win a Jeff Award?
Yeah,
we don't
can we win
acknowledge
these,
the Black Theater Alliance Award. But go ahead.
Yeah, can we win these awards that don't mean shit? They're just paperweights.
I got Jeff.
So
I still got to pay my bill.
Right, exactly. So, we have to, specifically after COVID, we as a theater community, some of us aren't going to make it. Some of these, a lot of these Black theaters might not make it. And so we have to band together. Some people have to step back. Not everyone can be a leader in this thing, So we need to find the people who are not afraid to go out, and because this is what white folks do. They don't give a fuck. They will steal your shit. They don't care. They will put it back in your face and say, yeah, I stole your shit. I got your money. I'm doing this shit anyway. So as Black artists, we have to be the same way. It's a cutthroat. It's the wild, wild west out here, specifically after COVID. So we don't fucking need white folks. We have enough Black artists who can produce our own shit. There's enough bougie ass Black people who will give money to some theater. Yes. There's enough celebrities out here who can fund some damn artists. There are enough Black artists who can form a collective that, you know what? Hey, we gonna do this damn play in a damn shanty town, or whatever. But, we all come together and support. So it's gotta be some hard truths. We can't be nice anymore. The kumbaya shit and, oh, we gotta heal and we gotta apologize for that. That's fucking bullshit, man. This 2020 ain't playing, and we can't play either. We gotta come out here, take what's ours, demand shit, and get shit like white folks do, because they don't care and we shouldn't care either. Get your shit.
And to Dre's point, well, a couple of things. A couple of people made some very interesting points, and I like to take it in. So one of the things that I think is problematic is that there's a mental paradigm shift that Black people have to make. Art is not a choice. It's not a hobby. It is your right.
Yes.
You have the right to create art. You don't have to tell your kids, you can do theater on the side, but go but get your accounting degree first. We have to, there are too many of us that don't feel like our art is worthy because our community has told us. And again, this goes back to trauma. This goes back to trauma. This 400 years of trauma.
Hold on. I'm about to get the Holy Ghost. I'm getting the Holy Ghost.
Because the trauma is, my great-grandfather was born in 1870. That man was the first person in my family born free. My grandmother was born in Mississippi in 19, as she would say, 7. So when her daughter in 54 asked her to go to the Art Institute, my grandmama said, you need to go learn to be a secretary because we are a community of survivors.
Yep.
And my grandmother didn't have any fucking measure for art paying your bills.
That's right.
So this is part of the grace we have to extend each other and ourselves. We have to let that shit go because to Dre's point, one of the reasons we don't fight for our art is because we don't think we deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Art is a right.
Amen.
It's not a gift from white folks. It's not, you got lucky. Damn it, God gave me this gift to make this money and I use it. Praise the Lord, pass the hot sauce. This is my right as a human being to create art. We are not a monolith. I don't care where you grew up. I don't care what your experience is. I don't care what that is. If you are Black and you write it, it is a Black story, period. So we have to get rid of the respectability, Cosby sweater politics that we have engaged in as Black folks.
Yes.
That there's a right way to be Black and there's a right way to present yourself. This is why I refuse to say African American. That's some bullshit. I was born at that motherfucking Jackson Park Hospital on 75th and Stony Island. I'm an American motherfucker. My people were slaves. So my folks built this shit, man. So there's a whole lot of paradigm shifts that have to happen within the community. There's no right way to be a Black artist. There's no right Black story. All your stories are right because you're Black and you're Roman. And white people stop, in the white theaters that want to continue after this point to engage in diversity, stop buying into your own bullshit about what a respectable Black play looks like because it makes you feel good. So if you want to keep playing this fucking game where you want to be diverse, go get some Katori Hall, put Pussy Valley on stage. Let's watch.
I'm down for that. I will put that shit on stage tomorrow.
But I mean, this is where the healing comes from. To Dre's point, it's the truth. And the truth is, you are valuable because you live and breathe. You are an artist because that is who you are. It is your right as a human being to be your full, authentic self. Whatever your pronouns are, however you rock, that's your right. And we as Black people have to stand in that power and that understanding. Because we'll keep playing this fucking, well, we gotta get the play that they'll let us produce.
No. And you guys all know, if y'all know me, you know I'm done with that. And we all have to be done with that. We all have to do that. We all have to do that, yes. And we have, and then go into ourselves, because I think a lot of it is that it's in our, like, it's been taught to us that to be fully Black, to wake up Black and go to bed Black, to eat Black, to brush your teeth Black, to just be like, whatever that Black is for you. We've been taught that that's a problem. So now we have to shake that off, and we have to go, this is my Black, and this is how I'm walking in the room. And I'm gonna add to this, with the healing, with all what you said, everybody, it is so amazing. When we get in the room, and this is something I've said multiple times, and I've been interviewed with several podcasts with white folks. When Black folks get in the room, boardroom, foundation funding, whatever, if you are the only Black person in that room, it is your duty to, one, speak your Black voice, whatever that is, speak it unapologetically, and then ensure that you're gonna have a seat for yourself, but you create 2 more seats for 2 more Black people at least.
I'm gonna tell you something, and I do this, and anybody that knows me knows I do this, because y'all know I don't play with these white people. Anytime I'm the only Black person in the room, I ask the question, so why is my Black ass here? And I say it like that. So what are we doing? How did this happen in 20 whatever, that I'm the only Black person in the room? I'm starting there, because I don't give a fuck, because I built my own institution, so I didn't have to give a fuck. Right. And that's the next lesson. If you don't like it, go get your own. Get your own 501c3. Figure out how to do. It's not hard. It's $75 here in Chicago.
Yeah, no. And there's some attorneys who will do it for you for free.
Listen. None of this is difficult. None of this is difficult. And here's the thing. Part of the problem with theater in general is that, 285 storefronts in Chicago?
At least.
285. And so everybody's running after the same $2. But then there's this conglomerate. Like if Steppenwolf, Goodman, Looking Glass were Microsoft or Google, motherfuckers be trying to bust them up. They'd be sitting in front of fucking committees. They'd be on Capitol Hill explaining why they are a monopoly. I'm sorry, I don't mean to dominate, but that theater, that Broadway in Chicago shit is the most offensive, disgusting, despicable, filthy, dirty bullshit that has ever happened to Black theater and brown theater in the history of Negrodom ever. Because the Department of Cultural Affairs takes money out of my tax dollars to market, support, and push all of these Wicked for 5 fucking years, but they ain't writing no checks to the motherfucking Impact, the Congo, not even, like, they ain't getting, these people are not getting any money.
Yep.
But the city is supporting some shit that already has an audience, that already has support. Broadway is in New York. Do better.
But we have to call it out, you guys. It's purposeful. They're doing that on purpose. No, at the end of the day, power players do not want powerful Black people with powerful Black stories, with powerful Black art. We all know that, right? And that's why at this point, this is where we need to work amongst ourselves. And if the white gaze comes in, we turn around and we say, you don't want us. You don't want us to be successful. You have no desire for us to be present. So we're going to do our own thing. You do your own thing, we'll do our own thing. But again, it goes back to the funding. And somehow we need to call out and say, and this is where Ta-Nehisi Coates says, if you're going to take my tax dollar, right? Because you guys pay taxes in the city of Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. And those tax dollars go to those white organizations, right? Mm-hmm. Right? And don't go to organizations that with people who run it who look like you, right? Mm-hmm. That's where reparations comes in, because that's stealing from you. That's thievery. You're taking my tax dollars, my hard-earned money, and you're ensuring that I don't get benefits from my tax dollars.
Because there's absolutely no reason why that Broadway in Chicago bullshit does not fund some of these small BIPOC theaters.
Well, I mean, we all know why.
Because it could. Because it could. Yeah. Because the marketing for local Chicago theaters should be pushed right into all of these programs. It should be a part of the marketing, the overall marketing structure for for the fucking horrible ass Wicked. I hate Wicked. Let me just say, for the record, I hate the musical. I hate every song. I never need to see it. Y'all can fight me. Fight me.
Okay, everybody. Carla hates Wicked.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I picked on Wicked.
Say the word Wicked around
I forgot why I was here.
I know.
I got busy.
So let's end it. Let's end this. We have less than 20 minutes now. And so I want to end it with where do you see Chicago Black theater community? Where do you see the Chicago Black theater community in 20 years?
Hopefully it's virtual and I'm retired.
Oh God. Carla, don't ever retire. We want you to always wear.
Elder. I'll be an elder soon. Leaving.
Anybody else?
I don't
Ruben,
know.
come on. Where do you see it in 20 years? 2040.
I don't know. That is a fantastic question. Like in my dream world, I would see several Black ensemble theaters, several Stillwell Institute, several Congo Square, several, like I would, in my dream world in 20 years, there Stillwell Institute, and if I'm saying this incorrectly, Carla, please correct me. But
you know she will.
No, that's Stillwell Institute. That's enough of it. You ain't got to go.
Like we would have brick and mortar and be producing shows the way we want to and in demand. In my mind, that's what I see can happen, especially because we are having these hard conversations. And Carla, since you just brought up, Broadway in Chicago could fund these smaller theaters. What's the first thing we need to do to get those things happening? Like at this point, I'm interested in, so that to me is a solution that makes sense, that I feel like if I write a letter, if I go sit on the board, do I need to run for a position in equity? How do we get those conversations started? Because I mean, I open a playbill. Why can't I see Stillwell Institute, Studio One, Playmakers? Why can't I see those theaters in these playbills? Like, so how do we get those conversations started? So in 20 years, that's what I would love to see, us holding it down and really shaping what you were saying about the African tradition, really sitting in those positions where the elders are sitting back and going, good job, my son, and then, so that's what I see. And I'm really interested, and I'm putting it out there for the world. I'm down to work in that capacity, to talk to those institutions about how do we get this money spread around, so that's what I have to say.
Because then if they don't, then we really need to talk about reparations within the Chicago Black theater community.
Yeah.
Talk about reparations. Like theater companies should get a check every month. Black theater companies should get a check every month for all the money that has been hoarded away from them, has been stolen from them. I mean, let's be real.
Now is the time, because everybody's asking. They're saying, tell us, how can we,
so right now, officially, we're gonna tell you white people in Chicago theater how you can help. Take some of your money and give it to Black artists, Black theater people, Black theater administrators, Black playwrights, Black actors, Black theater, whatever. You need to share your money, write a check, and make sure that shit doesn't bounce. Okay, so next up, because we all know some of these theater checks they bounce.
They be rubbery, girl.
If you get that theater check, you better run.
They rubber like a mug.
Go to their bank. Don't go to your bank. Go to their bank, and you be like, here. Don't put that check in your wallet. You got to go straight to the bank. Y'all know.
We all know.
Pass go.
Do not pass go.
Okay. Next, who wants to talk about theater and where is Chicago Black theater community in 20 years?
This may be outlandish because I'm over here in Raleigh. I love y'all. Thank you so much for having me. You guys are amazing. And living in Chicago and then living here in Raleigh, I would love to see in 20 years for Chicago, but just like across the board, speaking of networks, is that we're not an island. So I still know people who are in LA. I still know people who are in New York. I know people who are in Boston. My family comes from Detroit. Like I'm really curious about the Detroit theater scene. So it's like, how do you have the connections with Black theater artists in all of those communities, Atlanta, and then that's another ability to funnel economics within the community. It's like how can we bridge and have contacts in other places without being an island of ourselves and our own, but also knowing that you have to come with respect, because that's the one thing I learned about Chicago, is that you have to come with respect, is that you need to be willing to learn the history, and that's for each city that you go to, is that each place is different, and each place has their own history on how they tell their stories. So it's like, how can we connect those together? So that's what I would love to see.
Yes. Colette.
Specifically, yeah, for the comedy world, we have we had two improv theaters in Chicago who were in the footprint of Cabrini Green and not serving Black and Brown youth. I want to see a nonprofit theater come up. I wanted to specifically work in the schools. A lot of comedy comes out of pain, and we know that our children have experienced a lot of trauma. And I think that there's a lot of brilliant minds that are not being cultivated and are not being funneled into the things that can open up to your world when you study comedy. The late night writing, the SNL writing, the situation comedy writing. All these things are being stolen from our kids because this pipeline is being taken away from them. So I want to see a nonprofit theater ran by people of color, specifically doing programming in the schools for Black and Brown kids.
Y'all gonna make me want to move back to Chicago. Oh my God.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to say to that point, which is why I love working with Black Ensemble Theater so much, is because we do exactly that. We go into the schools, and I'm sure, Congo Square did it for a while. I mean, but those are our institutions. But I that is why I have such a connection with those theaters, is because that's like my personal goal, and I agree. I absolutely 100%.
Right.
I can't really answer your question because I don't have a rosy outlook for theater. Before COVID, I thought theater was dying, and with COVID, it's pretty much dead. Just because there's too many people who think archaic and they're not thinking 21st century. So until theater finds a way to broadcast all over the world, the shit don't make money. And if you ain't making money, you're not going to survive. So I don't have a rosy outlook for theater as it is made up right now. It needs a shitload of work. It's almost like you build a skyscraper, but you got to tear that motherfucker all the way down and start over. And I don't think the people, at least in this city, I don't think they're ready to do that. I think they're still holding on to the old way. And, if theater started today, most of these institutions will want to go right back to the way it was. And you can't put the genie back in the bottle. And so they were already having problems before COVID. And I don't think that they're smart enough to have those conversations and bold enough to do what it will take to resurrect theater, or if it needs to be resurrected. So I'm sorry, I'm not the rosy.
Don't apologize. I mean, because you're not the only one who feels that way. I mean, there are other people who are like, theater needs to evolve or die.
Yeah.
And
I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, theater is dead. Here's the thing. Anytime that the Disney Corporation, that was started by an actual Nazi, is more diverse and moving forward faster than American theater, we have a problem.
Yeah, well,
American theater is steeped in whiteness, white supremacy, and white ideologies and capitalism. And that is why it is dead. And I agree with Dre, but I feel like this is an opportunity
to start over. Yes.
To start over.
Right. And I totally agree. And I was just talking to my friend Moon earlier today. We were talking on a whole nother level about how Black women now, this is to build wealth, right? Black people, this is our time to build our wealth, Black people, right? And so we're talking about like, this is a time because everything is about to collapse. We all know that. Let's just say it, okay? Not just the theater scene, but other industries. And this is a time to rebuild. Let's not be scared. Let's go and go, okay, you know what? I see. So now there's going to be this window, this huge window of opportunity for Black people. And let's be prepared for it. Let's be ready with our words, with our money, with our passion, with our vision to go in and rebuild. Now, before we leave, we only have we have just a few minutes. In one sentence, can you please share with everybody what they can do, Black people in Chicago, or Black people, because there are people all over the country who are watching this right now. What can they do every week to help to change the scope of Black theater?
Make a donation to your local theater.
Yes.
Your local Black theater.
Anybody else?
Or your local Black arts institutions in general, because they all feed each other. It's the same ecosystem. So you have to buy that short film, and you have to, because those actors are the ones that are suffering from the theater being closed. So we have to feed the whole ecosystem of Black art and arts institutions.
Yeah. Same thing that they said. I would agree. Everything they said.
Funding. Ruben.
My sentence is share, talk, and share. That it all. Share the work, share the resources, share the shoulders, share whatever. Just talk to each other and share. Really be a community.
Andrea.
Give yourself permission. So give yourself permission, like Carla said, to create, to navigate what's going on with you in your mind and your emotion and your spirit and your heart. So just give yourself permission.
You guys have been so amazing. I really truly know that we've inspired a ton of Black artists in Chicago to just stop talking about it and be about it. Also, we have scared some white people, which is wonderful. I'm so excited that we did that. And so that we can tell them to back the fuck off. And another thing is, for all you white people who are amazing, who are like, I realize, like, I'm so aware of what my people have done and my ancestors have done. For all you white people, this is about put up or shut up. And this is about you educating your white people about all the things that they have done. I'm really excited about what is to come in Chicago theater, in Chicago Black theater. And I know that we're going to continue these conversations. Maybe in a month from now, it will be more flowery and inspiring, like, oh, look what I've been doing. And so that's why I'm really excited. Thank you so much, Dre Robinson. Actually, I do love Dre. I really do. I do love Dre. That's why I work with him. I only work with the best. Thank you, Andrea Black. You're so amazing. You're so beautiful. Thank you, Ruben Echols. Oh my God. I love you.
I love you.
Oh, yes, Ruben is like a teddy bear, you guys. Thank you, Colette Gregory. You my girl. We gonna talk. And y'all, thank you to my sister from another mister, who I would literally let her, like, take my children if I were to die. Like, I think I'm gonna write her in my will, and she'll raise my children for me, and they'll be way better than what I'm like me raising them. My sister Carla Stillwell. I love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Lauren.
Wonderful job moderating. This was amazing. Thank you. I hope this inspires other Chicago artists to have similar conversations and be brave enough to have those conversations. So I think you guys set a wonderful example tonight. Um, I have lots of podcast episodes coming up, but one of my favorite podcast interviews that I've done is with a playwright named MJ Perrin. She wrote one of the suffragette plays. She might be in, she's in Baltimore. I was going to say, I interviewed a lot of Chicago playwrights for this, but this MJ is in Baltimore, and we talked a lot about womanism and feminism and the difference and the racism that was the underbelly of the suffragette movement. So please tune in for that. That'll be in a couple of days. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Our Facebook page, and it'll be on the website in a couple of days. So
So you guys share, share, share. I'm telling you, people are going to be so inspired by this conversation. Have a great evening.
thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.